It's like something I've never seen before, quite frankly.
Have you seen them? The latest release from the Pentagon, those declassified UFO files, they keep coming. So the fourth release just came out a couple days ago. Have you been following them? Have you been dissecting them? Well, we have an expert with us today who is going to go through them with us, see if there's anything we need to be excited about or maybe yawn about. Mike Riso, he's the state director of Southern California MUFON. He's on the Experiencer Resource Team. MUFON Field Investigator of the Year for 2025. And Mike joins us again. This is an encore presentation. He joined us about a year ago. Mike, welcome back.
Thanks, Mickey. It's great to be back here visiting with you. And I like how you said that. Be excited or yawn about. You know, it's a little, it is a mixed bag, as it were.
What has excited you? Because, you're an investigator. How long have you been an investigator, Mike?
I've officially been investigating for about 4 years,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
unofficially, basically my entire life.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
so I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, not much impressed me aside from what I just said. There's really nothing much impressive to me. Now, if I knew nothing about this topic, this would be the most fascinating website in the world. But because I've been following it all the time, like there's not anything new to myself or anyone who's been following the topic for a long time, as it were. The videos primarily are little balls of light. We'll call them, people call them orbs. You can't discern anything from that. They could be literally anything at all. And we're mostly missing any useful information. It seems that the theme is they're all infrared sensors that we're looking at. Okay, great. That's something to note because what is an infrared sensor? We're seeing stuff that we can't see with our eyes. It's going to be reflecting or absorbing the heat, as it were. But what we still don't know is this daytime or nighttime? Because you can use infrared in daytime or nighttime, and it sort of flips the image, as it were. So we don't know the date, full date. They'll give us like a month or even just a year. And like, I don't know, South China Sea. Okay, great. That's a big area. We
Right,
don't have
right.
enough information to really do anything with. We don't know how high up we are or how fast we're going. Um, so when you zoom in on a little area of a bigger area, something could be moving very slow, but when you're zoomed in, it looks like it's going a lot faster than it does. So I'm not impressed overall by practically any of the videos thus far.
So it's like little to no context, lacks clarity, no data, a lot of grainy pictures, blurry blobs. I don't know what I'm looking at. And you being an investigator, when people come to you and they have photos and pictures, how do you know? What are you trained to look for to know if they've been altered or if they real or not? What is acceptable to you as a MUFON investigator? Is that a fair question? I know we're
Yeah,
looking at
absolutely. I would love everybody in the world to become a UFO investigator because then you'll start sending in, higher quality reports, as it were. But the first thing we do is we confirm that the file is authentic. There's different programs that we utilize to confirm that it's got a proper date, time, and location, as it were. There's also software out there that does identify if you've altered it. And I have encountered that before, where people will go in and they'll change something up. That's the first thing that we really do before we even contact the person to make sure that we're going to be properly investing our time. Like everyone's a volunteer, right? So you don't want to talk to somebody for hours on end when they have a hoaxy video or photo. But after that, we then confirm the date, time, and location. I do it on Google Maps and whatnot. And we'll do an interview with the person, and I'll sort of place myself there as best I can, really getting all of the data that we're missing from the government files, as it were. From there, I'll then go look at like the flight radar to confirm was there any transponding air traffic in the sky. Depending on the time or what it looks like, I'll also confirm with the star map. Or are there satellites up there? Did Starlink do a launch? Rocket launches. We cross-reference all kinds of information in order to determine if this thing is something that we know what it is or if it's something that we don't know what it is.
Mike, as a MUFON investigator, what percentage would you say of the pictures that people have submitted to you of sightings What percentage would you say are just, meh, bogus? Now, what you think it is?
95%, like without
Wow.
question. That
Okay.
was when J. Allen Hynek was doing this with Project Blue Book and Sign and Grudge. That was interestingly enough the same statistic way back in the first days. 95% were identifiable, 5% weren't. And I don't know why, but that holds true today.
Yeah.
Mike, a question for you. Do you feel like now that we've gone through 4 of these releases, do you feel like this official release from the Department of Defense, do you feel like it has helped the disclosure movement or maybe has hindered it in some way?
I think it's a mixed bag. I mean, it's helpful in that it's really monumental that Washington, D.C. is talking about this topic, quite frankly, right? And they're putting this stuff out, they're putting time and energy into it. However, what they're putting out, I mean, here's another little thing I want to say too. We're not necessarily, it's not that we're dealing with the government or the military, it's the intelligence community that we're actually dealing with here. And they're the ones who are sort of in the driver's seat in terms of what is going to be put out and what's not. So like that blob UFO, as it were, that's got me wondering. It could be pretty significant one way or the other, and it's either a slap in the face or to the intelligence community, or maybe they're trying to signal us to look broaden our own scope, in that we're not always looking for a UFO or a cigar or a Tic Tac or whatever.
Right. So we want to talk about that more in depth. We just have to take a quick break because there's just more to talk about. A lot of confusing images, just really don't know what to think. Mike Riso with MUFON. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back when We Are Not Alone continues right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of We Are Not Alone. Mike Riso joins us with MUFON. He's been an investigator with MUFON for a very long time, so he has a different critical eye when he looks at these declassified UFO files from the Pentagon. Mike, so in this 4th release of declassified files, there's kind of a blobby thing. Yeah, there you go. Tell us about that and what your impressions are.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely caught my eye the first time I saw it. It's like something I've never seen before, quite frankly. When investigating UFOs, you're thinking saucers, triangles, chevrons, sometimes cigars, rectangles, whatever. Shapes is what we typically is getting reported. Balls and spheres are also probably the most common, but like something like this, never quite seen anything like that. Don't know what to make of it. I mean, honestly, at the end, as it sort of floats away a little bit, it almost reminds me of a giant teddy bear or something. I don't know why for a split second it looked pretty interesting like that. I've noticed on the internet there's a couple of images, like one of them is very sci-fi, straight out of a Steven Spielberg movie, where somebody used an AI to enhance this image, and it's very silvery, and it looks like something that's going to come and cause a lot of havoc. But at the end of the day, okay, well, this is my AI enhancement. And in AI, it's to use enhancement. It's a tool, but it's never an end-all be-all. I don't, with one exception, I don't use this tool in my investigations, but I don't put it into my disposition either if I do. But the point is, the fact that we have to enhance it, it's blurry to begin with. Why is it blurry? Was it blurred out before it was released, or do we just have really poor cameras on our multi-million-dollar war
Right, which we
machines?
know is not the case. Please.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand they might not have a 4K Hollywood-style camera on it, but come on, like it shouldn't be blurry. Anyway, this is what it could be, right? There's speculation that it's a bunch of cameras. Okay, that's a possibility. See, my mind doesn't go instantly to it's a UFO. My mind goes to like, what could this be? So there's a difference there. But I want to actually, I'm going to check out my notes here because the description here is important. It says 32 seconds of video footage from infrared sensor aboard a U.S. military platform in 2020. And it describes the phenomenon as a darker maroonish color, approximately 12 to 15 feet in height. So we don't see color here, so we're missing that aspect of it. The report describes the phenomenon, and it says, quote, traveling with the wind, and noted it did not maneuver or change direction. It also describes the phenomenon as appearing similar to a large, somewhat deformed balloon. Well,
Mm.
that's important information. It indicates to us that there's probably not a propulsion system there. The fact that it's traveling with the wind and it's not really changing direction indicates to me it's more than likely a balloon or a balloon construct. Um,
Hmm.
and I'll just sort of leave it at that. Uh,
Interesting. And I think with the fourth release, I know you've been through all of them. I've been through quite a few, and I was yawning. It was hard to go through a lot. I was like, really, 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 again, again, again. This, I think, was the most interesting. You agree this is the most eyebrow raising?
Yeah, it is. Okay, thank you for that because it's a fork in the road. It's eyebrow raising for one of two reasons. Either A, and I hate to say it, but we're intentionally being deceived, or A point two, um, there's not the smartest people who are investigating these within the government, or the other side of the fork is they're indicating to us like, hey, it's don't just look for the don't just look for the flying saucers, don't just look for the chevrons. Like, these things could be literally anything. I don't necessarily think that it's that, but it does open up the conversation a little bit more, and I can't help but wonder if that wasn't done with intention.
And that's the scary part. I think that's just scary. I just feel like some of these things are an insult to our intelligence.
Yeah.
Forgive me, but it's like, come on, come on. I think that, and I cover this for our newscast too. Speak with a lot of folks who aren't into ufology or UFOs, and they're like, really, they're bored with it. They think we're never going to see anything, and supposedly this is supposed to lead us to information maybe about ETs or aliens. Have you seen anything that has shown maybe a connection to non-human intelligence or alien life?
Not from any of these particular files.
Mm.
And I mean, I did
My
investigate. Yeah.
I will ask, I mean, has there been an increase in claims people have been submitting to MUFON since the beginning of these files being released? Because I know that May Kay and I will get emails from people as she'll go on traditional news and talk about these stories and these releases from the government. People will start emailing and say, "Well, I've actually had an experience," and we know that there can be that stigma around reporting this or talking about it. And maybe it's giving some more credit to it, so maybe more people are coming forward. And I'm wondering if you've seen any increase in that.
That's a great question, and I was on the lookout for that. I was sort of expecting it, but I personally haven't noticed that yet. It's been consistent the whole way through, but I've not noticed any particular spike, as it were, in either reports. Like, there's two sides of MUFON. There's the nuts and bolts sighting investigation, and then there's the ERT, the Experience and Resource Team, who works basically with people who have had interaction with an entity, or potentially boarded a craft, as it were. So there's two different aspects of it. But from my, uh, they've been both level. We've not noticed any spikes at this particular point.
I'm curious to know if over the years you have seen a change in the reports. Now, you said since these files came out, you don't see an increase in reports, but over the years, has there been a change in the description of abductions or what the ships or UFOs look like? Or have you seen like more orbs, reports of orbs, and different types of aliens? Have you seen a change over the years? Or all the sightings and reports similar?
That's a tough one to answer, in that you have to zoom out on a bigger scale, like talking about the decades. And if you do that, there is interestingly a change in the shapes that we observe, and also a change in the beings that we observe. But it's not necessarily a year over year thing. It's more of a decade over decade thing. Now, I don't have any type of answer for that other than to say it's pretty darn interesting that we'll just say the UFO factory is producing different models, and after time they you know get better, I guess. But I don't know if that sort of answers your question.
So we're going to take another break. And when we come back, just a general overview, again, a yawn or an excitement. Are you hopeful that the next release. They're supposed to be rolling out continually. It seems to be every 2 to 3 weeks on a Friday. Do you think we're ever going to see anything that we can be excited about? So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back when We're Not Alone continues right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of We Are Not Alone, talking with acclaimed MUFON investigator, talking about those 4 releases of the Pentagon's declassified UFO files. So far, nothing has been too exciting that we've talked about, other than a blob thing that we talked about a few minutes ago. Mike Russo joins us. Mike, oh my goodness. So anything else that caught your eye?
Well, Mickey, there was one thing that sort of caught my eye and piqued my interest. And unfortunately, there isn't a video to go along with it, but we have a photo, as it were. And this was from 2015. I. It's Pantex is the name of the facility. This was, I just had to look at my notes real quick. But what the description of this was, Pantex is apparently a facility where we assemble nuclear weapons. So it's a highly sensitive area. And this object started floating over it, as it were. Needless to say, it got people's attention. I'm, of course, paraphrasing what the description says. But the things that stood out to me were that there were security guards essentially got into a vehicle and tried to sort of track it, chase it, and look up from underneath it. They weren't able to catch up with it, which I find pretty interesting. It doesn't say how quick they went, but I gotta believe whoever they were would have sort of put the pedal to the metal in this type of instance to try to get up into it or close to it. And then they also noted that it did change direction. So both of those things indicate to me probably not balloon. I mean,
Right.
China
Right.
could have something over what they want to spy on us, whatever. But I don't think a balloon would be able to change direction, and I don't think a balloon would be able to outrun a vehicle. Now, other than that, we have a dot in the sky, sort of typical of this. But I mean, I do got to sort of muddy the waters a little bit. One of the 5 observables is low observability. And it's believed that there might be, for lack of a better term, some type of field around the object, which makes them difficult to photograph, as it were. So, there's always something with the ufology that you never quite get everything that you're looking for or need to,
Because, I mean, what can we tell from this picture? I mean, it could be a speck of pepper. It could be, I mean, please, what are we supposed to get from this? How do you feel that there's any credibility to them? Try to have an open mind, because I do want to see something, and I do want there to be some good, exciting news to come out of this. But so far, this is like, really?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, the credibility is the letterhead that it's on, the fact that it's at a highly sensitive location, and that they took the time to look into what the heck this thing was. It caught somebody's attention. They chased after it. It was classified for a while. So that all does build credibility for me on what it is. But looking at the surface level with just the picture by itself, without that's why MUFON always interviews people, because you get a lot of information that way. Photo by itself, whatever, it could be anything. We read that description, now it's more interesting. But
Mike, I gotta ask. Sorry, Makey, I'll jump in real quick. So the community, and when I say the community, it's the forums I'll read for UFOs, UAPs, disclosure, all of that. It has felt very divided in the last 2 months since we started getting these releases. I think a lot of people are waiting on either higher definition images or videos. They want whistleblowers to come forward, like an amnesty period for whistleblowers. In your mind, as a MUFON investigator, as the state lead in Southern California, what is the one thing you would like to see? Is it one of those big things? Is it someone coming forward, or is it higher definition pictures or videos?
Honestly, I would like to see sort of the first thing you touched on. I would like to see us all work together. There is a lot of division within the community, unfortunately. On one hand, that's sort of humanity, right? But on the other hand, we're all here for the same goal and the same purpose. It's not about me or you or whatever. It's just about humanity at large. And to embrace that mentality, I think, is the biggest sort of challenge that the experiencers seem to have no problem doing, but the other folks maybe not so much. So like I want to see us all come together more and stop the bickering and the infighting and the such. That's what I would like to see. I mean, I don't personally need to see any 4K video. I've investigated enough things where I don't need proof, as it were. I sort of know that it exists and that it's real. I don't necessarily have the answers behind that, but you know,
And
that's
and
what I
Mike,
think.
that's so true. We can only know, what we have experienced, right?
Yeah.
And there's such a difference between spirituality and religion, right? A religion is something that's given to us that you're just told about. Spirituality is something that you know from your heart. And it seems like the conversation around UFOs, UAPs, non-human intelligence seems to be taking a turn where it might be connected to religion or spirituality. Can you share that with us before we go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it definitely is taking a turn, and it sort of would and should, because when you start to think about, are there other beings not human anywhere, quite frankly, then that does sort of go right into the religious belief systems and such. There have been ministers out there who say like, "Oh, we've been put into a White House briefing," and other the folks from the spiritual community are starting to come forward. They are engaging with this conversation, which I think is wonderful, because at the end of the day, to quote my mentor Earl, who's departed us, but he talked about a book called "Is Your God Big Enough?" Can your God also include ET? Like, I don't think that uh, even if President Trump comes out tomorrow and says this is real, there are beings that we've been talking to, I don't think that's going to destroy anyone's religion. You have to look at things differently, but it doesn't make it all irrelevant.
Right. Well, we're going to leave the conversation there. We can't wait for the fifth dump to come out
Hopefully
of the
something good, right?
of the next Pentagon declassified files. I'm open-minded. A lot of us just kind of want this to be true. It's like we need to believe in something bigger than ourselves, and probably truth of it is it's all within us. But thank you, Michael Riso, with Southern California MUFON. Any closing words for everybody, the people who believe or don't believe?
I've said before, like, I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. I'm here to help people understand and work through it, and that's really what MUFON is for, and what we're. Oh yeah, so if you've seen anything or experienced something, please do report it to MUFON, MUFON.com, and somebody will reach out to you and will investigate your case.
Mike Riso, thank you with MUFON. Thanks for joining us, Mike. We'll catch up with you at a later date, and we thank all of you for joining us on this edition of We Are Not Alone. I'm May K. Bueller. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.